He challenged me. He said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day.
We're talking about how to level up on LinkedIn, engagement, being the go-giver, the idea that being open to opportunity.
We all deal with challenges, but how do you overcome them?
Master Connector with Steve Spiro is live on air.
Yes, we are. Whoops, here we go. Yes, we are live on air. Having some technical stuff going on here. Let's get rid of that for a moment. What's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And we're going to have some fun today. Really, we have an amazing lineup for you. So I want to make sure you get in the comments, connect with each other. You definitely don't want to be, we don't have any LinkedIn lurkers on here. We have LinkedIn participants. So get in there, get in the comments, connect with each other. Tell us where you're tuning in from. And obviously, I'm flying half solo here. Obviously, my co-host, Cameron, as you guys may have known, Cameron has now back to his event catering planning business, staffing business. He's back. That's full swing. So connect with Cameron if you miss him. He's awesome. But got some people that have been helping me along the way. And today we're going to hear from another guest host here, and we have an amazing guest as well that we're going to kind of bring to this shortly. But I want to kind of frame the topic here for you guys and give you a little framework here. So today we're going to discuss a topic that is both profound and transformative, right? Being powerfully vulnerable. Throughout my life, I faced adversities. I've been picked on, bullied, learning disabled, dyslexic, right? And we all have our cross that we bear, if you will, right? But these experiences really, they shaped me. They taught me the incredible power of vulnerability. In the face of adversity, I've learned that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but actually a manifestation of immense strength. It's courage to share our true self and to open up, to connect with others on a genuine level. And the value of vulnerability lies in its ability to foster deep understanding and empathy. When we embrace vulnerability, we allow ourselves to understand and relate to the diverse experiences of others, enriching our perspective and creating stronger connections, right? That's what we're all about here, right? The Master Connector Show. We're about connections, right? Vulnerability allows us to acknowledge our struggles, seek help, and collaborate with others to find solutions, right? I think one of the great things about this platform is it's a platform where we could collaborate with people. In fact, Marji and I met through LinkedIn. So talk about collaboration and the ability to add value with each other, right? So vulnerability allows us to acknowledge our struggles. Okay, we talked about that, right? So being powerfully vulnerable means being resilient and persistently pursuing our goals, even in the face of adversity. My journey, in my journey, I've come to see being a go-giver as an extension of vulnerability, believe it or not. And we're going to tie into that a little bit. Vulnerability is the foundation of being a go-giver, as it allows us to extend ourselves genuinely and authentically, enriching the lives of others around us. And being powerfully vulnerable is a credible asset, essentially a superpower that helps us understand, connect, and overcome the hurdles of life. It's about turning our scars into strength, embracing our true selves, and giving generously to others. So if you're ready for us to introduce our amazing guests, I want you to go into the hashtag right now. Don't go into the comments right now. Type in hashtag let's go. And I am going to introduce a great friend who I've known, Dr. Phil, for a few years now, and just an amazing man of integrity. And I love his energy and his heart. So let me go ahead and bring him to the stage here. And I am here it is. So Dr. Phil is an entrepreneur born on the small island of Jamaica, Yaman. He owns a podcasting media company called Phoenix National Network that features entrepreneurs, life coaches, and influencers who want to make a positive impact on the world through podcasting. Philip is a father of 3, married to Dornell, a minister and leader. He produces and hosts his own show called Focus on You, along with the man Oscar Cabell and several other shows as well. So please bring to Mr. Dr. Philip Reid. Good to have you on here, sir.
Right. Yeah, good to be here, man. Good to be here. Thanks for the invite. It's great that we get to collaborate like this, Steve. And I've been looking forward to it, man. Awesome.
It's gonna be amazing having you on. So I know you're gonna bring on Marji here, right? You're all set, sir?
Absolutely. Listen, I'm excited about this guest. She is an amazing person. I would love for every one of you to meet today. Her name is Marji Sherman. Marji Sherman is a digital marketing expert featured in Inc. magazine, Jay Barnes, Social Pros podcast, and as Influencer of the Year 2021. Marji owns Sherman Social, a social media and digital marketing agency specializing in finance, real estate, healthcare, and luxury industries. She works with remote clients worldwide, helping them gain leads and brand awareness with their target audience through website development, social media management, paid ads, and more. Marji was diagnosed with autoimmune disorder at 13 and was told she would never graduate from high school, let alone college. She refused to accept her diagnosis and is healthy and thriving today. She underwent 2 rounds of experimental chemo for her stage 4 endometriosis, eventually leading to however pronounced that, in 2018. Keeping with her tradition of not accepting no as an answer, Marji and her husband, Justin Surrogate, gave birth to their biological baby boy last February. Here is Marji Sherman.
That's awesome. So Phil, you read the long version, I guess. I did.
Hey, no, wait. You know what? I was looking at the long version.
Yeah.
And I looked at the shorter version and I said, oh my God, this is such a story, man. I mean, it's one thing to overcome outer obstacles that you have control over, but to have to face obstacles that are inward and you have no control over it, that's a story. I loved what I was reading.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, blessed to have you on here, Marji. You want to say hello to everybody and then we'll get started.
Hello, happy to be here. I'm excited about this topic because I think it's really important for a career life, but also your personal life.
No doubt about it. We're gonna have some fun today. All right, so we're gonna dig into it. And Dr. Phil, you were talking about story, right? So community, I want you to type in #story, and we're gonna dig into a little bit of your story. So you had, obviously, as Dr. Reid talked about, you had an autoimmune disorder at 13 and suicides by some close family members. Tell us how you overcame some of those obstacles earlier in your life. I mean, we're all about, one of the pillars of the show is having the grit to overcome obstacles. So tell us a little bit of the backstory and give us a little insight on that.
Absolutely. So when I was 13, I was very ill in school and no one believed that I was sick. And finally, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder and I had to go to school at home. So I was not allowed to attend school, but was homeschooled. And during that time, the doctor said that I would not graduate from high school and that it was pretty severe. And I just refused to accept that. I had a really strong background in my faith and just really trusted God, but also trusted my family. And my mom has a saying that there's always other opportunities and you need to look at the full picture and never take no for an answer. And I was so lucky to have her. So that really helped me pursue a lot of healthy things in order to get to a place where I was able to attend high school part-time, but graduate on time. And then, of course, I was told I wouldn't be able to go to college. So ended up going to college in Florida to the dismay of my parents, and graduating from the University of Miami. And I actually was in the hospital 2 days before that graduation. And I discharged myself against doctor's orders so I could be at my college graduation, because that was so important to me. And so a lesson there for me was I just was not going to take no for an answer. And I was going to have the life that I imagined. And it was all in my mindset and in my faith to get through that. And actually, today marks the 20th anniversary of my best friend committing suicide.
Oh.
Yeah, don't clap. In high school. And so I grew up in a community where in Wyoming where things were really brushed under the rug. We weren't allowed to talk about it. We attended the funeral, but after the funeral, a high school counselor told my parents that 3 weeks after the suicide, I was still sad, and that was unhealthy. So it was a very backwards way of looking at it. And I was fortunate to have parents that viewed it in a different way and gave me the space to grieve and understand what happened there, and meet with a pastor. So I just love having you on this show, Dr. Reid, who told me that you grieve in your own time. And the minute I was told that, I just felt this great sense of relief with everything that happened, not knowing that 10 years later, my own sister would take her own life. And so getting through that was very difficult. But I also, the minute I heard about my first sister who passed away, I knew that I had a choice. I could either just fold and grieve and be in this place of just hopelessness, or I could trust that there was a reason for this and turn that pain into a positive impact in my life, and convert that energy in a different way. And so that was my choice when that happened. So I was very distraught. I believe that you always grieve for instances like that, but it was my goal to move on from that and not let it deter me from living life and really appreciating it.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you being transparent and sharing a little bit of that. And yeah, we were going to celebrate, but yeah, nothing to celebrate in that. But you know what? And I'll eventually do a TEDx talk, and the working topic title is "In Our Weakness, There's Power." And I believe that everything that we have that happens in our life, we could turn that into some kind of power, whether it be inspiring others or to really be the better version of ourselves and honor those. If there's people that we've lost in our life, perhaps maybe we can honor them in whatever we do. So appreciate you. Yeah. So just so you know, love for you everyone to put in the comments where you're coming in from, your city and state. I do want to acknowledge a few folks that have come on the show. First of all, honoring Yolanda. She is an incredible, loyal participant of the show, and we appreciate you, Jonathan, part of our networking clan. So good to see you on here, Jonathan. And I know we have Mr. Ricky Cusio, who did an incredible promo of the show, and LFGGG, let's effing go, I guess, right? And we got Miss Suze Pinto in the house. Good to see Susan. Way to go. So a lot of good stuff. And look, we got something from Ricky. This is such an amazing story for someone so young who's experienced so much loss in life and turned into a positive as a beacon. Amen to that. And it looks like he is tuning in from Hamden, Connecticut. So make sure you're telling us where you're coming in from. So, but appreciate everyone being on the show. This is awesome. We're going to keep things rolling here. So we want to chat a little bit about now value. So community, I want you to type in right now in the comments, type in hashtag value. And I'm trying to multitask here. So usually I'm Robbie G or a co-host to help with this. So type in value. So Marji, here's what we want to find out from you, right? What is the value of being vulnerable? Why is that valuable? Tell us a little bit of your perspective, please.
That is a great question, especially timely for this morning, as Business Insider came out with an article basically saying that you should not be vulnerable, especially on LinkedIn. which I highly disagree with. I think there's a lot of value in being vulnerable. The moment I realized that was actually not necessarily from my first sister's suicide, but it was when I left my first marriage, which was abusive. And he had been involved a lot with my social media and my company. And I had a community of 50,000 followers at that point in time. And when the divorce went through, I felt like I needed to write a blog post and let people know what happened, because I had been very dishonest with my social media of showing a very happy situation, and even lying about why I had a splint on my right arm because he had torn the tendons in it. And so I wrote a very honest blog post about it. And when I published it, being in the social media world, I expected some negativity and winced a little bit, but still published it. And the value I found from publishing something so vulnerable was that I all of a sudden had this community of support around me. And to this day, that post has only received 3 negative comments, and they're all from my anonymous ex-husband. So it's incredible to see that kind of support. But also some of that support included people writing in and saying that because I shared that, they had the courage to leave their abusive relationship and move on and start their new life. And I'm still in contact with some of those people today, 10 years later. So I think vulnerability allows you not only to heal yourself, but it allows you to help others as well through their journey and give them the courage to take the steps that they need to take as well.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Dr. Phil, I'd love to hear you chime in on this one, because I know you've had some stuff going on recently in your life, and you've been vulnerable. I don't know if you're in a position to share that now, but I know you've had some stuff.
Yeah. Just first, I got to tell you, Margie, I really admire your strength and your transition. A lot of people that have experienced what you've experienced don't make it out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to tell your story about how you, especially being in an abusive relationship, there are so many women that I've met that have experienced that. And it's very disheartening sometimes to know that they can't speak to anybody. They don't feel they can talk to anybody about what they're going through. So they put the mask on and, they pretend everything is great. Nothing is happening. But every week they come with they're bruised somewhere, an arm is broken. And, it's just so important for us to share, when we go through this journey. So I really appreciate you being vulnerable in that. But Steve, I think what I went through also is something to share about, focusing on your health, because I went through an experience just recently where I discovered I was type 2 diabetic. And it was the hard way of finding that out. It wasn't, I was just doing life, going about my business, working hard. And suddenly it was where my body just wasn't functioning. And I went to the doctor and they prescribed something, and I took it and it made it worse.
Oh, no.
And so we went to the hospital. We went to a hospital emergency room, and my sugar level was at 720. And they said I was borderline about to head into a diabetic coma.
Oh.
Yeah. So that is not the right way to find out.
No. Oh, my goodness.
Well, thank God you're still here with us, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. What I want to say with all of that is, when you've gone through that, there's so much grace that you can see that God shows us in those moments. And I have my gratitude has went from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And just the appreciation for life and the simple things.
Mm-hmm.
For
Love
sure.
that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, hard to transition out of that one because we could probably spend the whole show on that. It's tough, but I do want to move along here because we have so many great things we want to hear from everyone here on this. So let's go to the next topic, which is I want you to type in hashtag deep. And so I know, Margie, I've heard you speak about that you have a deep understanding of multiple types of people. So how does that understanding help you and people, not you personally, but people, and you too, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think it helps them be seen more because I'm able to understand a lot of where they've been and see where they can go to. It's helped me in my career quite a bit to understand different target audiences and be able to understand, what might be a sensitive topic to put out on digital marketing versus something that's a little more appropriate. But I think just having a deep understanding of others really helps you with your relationships, not only personally, but in your career. It helps you navigate if somebody's having a bad day. How do you have a conversation with them? Do you stop for a second and ask them what's going on and dig into that a little deeper? And that just helps everyone across the board because you're being more honest in your communications, which allows you to form that really deep bond, which will help you communicate more in the future.
Absolutely. A couple things I just want to chime in on this, right? So number one, if you haven't looked into it or done any studying on it, the DISC personality, DISC, D is driven, decisive, I inspiring, S supportive, and C calculating and cautious, conservative, right? And everyone kind of shares all of them, but there's usually a prominent one or two. And just understanding some of that will help you to determine, okay, is this person more of a people-oriented person? Is this person more of a task-oriented person? And typically the task-oriented person may not want to get into so much of the relational side of things. So it's really good to do that. But when you are able to break the barriers, and I tend to be more on task side, I'm sort of a DC, DCS. That's kind of where I fall, or CDS, depending. And but when I do finally share and I do connect with people and relate, we tend to go deep. And I think there's an amazing value in going deep. Number one, like you said, Margie, to have a really good understanding of that person, their core values, where they're coming from, because a lot of times we just show our surface side of us. But also in going deep, it also makes us much more relatable to other folks that are struggling with challenges, right? Because you might be able to provide some insight, maybe not break somebody's confidentiality if there's something personal or private, but you could say a friend of mine has been going through something similar, and this is how he or she dealt with it, right? And there's some things that you can kind of empathize with them, even if it's not something that you've experienced yourself, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So good stuff. So let's keep going here, Cameron. Empathy and kindness should be in everyone's toolkit. Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
No doubt. Thank you, Cameron, for that. It was great seeing you, sir. Miss you on the show, but know you're doing what you got to do. And Cameron's been a beast. I've been seeing him all over he's like, where's Waldo now in the real world? Because everywhere I go, I see a post of him here, a post of him there. I went to a few networking groups, networking events in the real world, and there he was, right? I mean, it's like, so Cameron's crushing it out there, but appreciate you. And I wouldn't have the show if it wasn't for Cameron Toth, that's for sure. He was incredible. I was always going to honor you, sir, because I wouldn't have taken a leap of faith to do the show if it wasn't for you. So appreciate you. Well, let's keep going here. We want to talk a little bit about now the how, right? I mean, the why is always important and getting into that, but let's talk about the how a little bit. So type in hashtag how community. And again, if you're new to this show, just so you know, if we only see a number, okay, X number of people are watching the show. We don't know if you're on here. It's not like Zoom where you came on the show and we see your name somewhere or your picture. Even if you're not showing your picture, we know you're here. We don't know. So unless you get in the comments, we don't know. So if you don't know what to say, follow our lead. Just go with the hashtag thing, okay? But here's Yolanda chiming in again and saying hi to you, Cameron. So appreciate that. She also appreciates you. We all miss you. for sure. But yeah, so let's talk about the how. So Marji, how does vulnerability help you overcome obstacles? As we said before, that's what the show's about, right? Having the grit to overcome obstacles. So tell us a little bit. That's kind of a little bit of a dichotomy, but
Yes.
having the vulnerability but overcoming obstacles. Tell us a little bit about your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people view vulnerability as being a weakness that makes your obstacles worse, or creates them. And I view it more as, like you said at the beginning of the show, a superpower that allows me to actually connect with people so they can see what's going on with me. I can see what's going on with them, and we can have a better interaction moving forward. So, for example, if I had really hid my sister's suicide from my community, from my life, work life, it still would have been in my mind, in the back of my head, and would have affected how I was behaving, probably in a negative way. But expressing it and being able to have an open conversation about it allowed people to understand some of what I had been through. I wasn't just a face in the office to them, but I was actually a real person that had been through things and overcome them. And I think, with the suicide side of things, I actually received a note from a man who said that he was about to commit suicide and decided to go on Twitter to research it. And he came across one of my articles where I had written about how hard it was on my mom. And he ended up writing me and saying that because he read that article, he had never ever thought about what it would do to his mother. And so he couldn't go through with it. And so he was not going to take his own life. And so he sent me this note letting me know that. And so that not only inspired me, but it helped me realize that there's a reason for everything. And it helped me realize that I couldn't save my sisters, but I could help this person. And
Sure.
that helped heal me in a way. And so I do think vulnerability is important. And in the workplace, I have had employees on my team that have just stopped doing their exceptional work. And I've taken the time to go to lunch with them, to dig into what's going on. And they've shared some pretty personal stories with me. But through that, we were able to overcome the obstacle, and they were able to improve their work because they knew they were being seen. And they knew they weren't alone in dealing what they were dealing with. And it surprised me because I actually had my boss tell me that they were disappointed that I had focused on the team so much, and that I was focusing on the team's well-being and my self-review. And I found that so odd because I do think vulnerability belongs in the workplace as well. And 3/4 of that team left with me when I left because they weren't being seen by that individual. So I do think it's important in both the workplace, but also personally, to overcome those obstacles.
Sure. And just to clarify, when we're talking being vulnerable, we don't mean you want to be just like airing all your dirty laundry. It's not.
No.
It's just saying, it's when appropriate. There's times you can share about it, and and often I find it's a lot easier and better to share. I've learned this from my mentor that you share on this stuff many times after you're through, you're kind of over it, versus in the thick of it, because you're really hurting at that point, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I did not write about my sister's suicides until 5 years later. I just had to get through my own stuff before I could publicly write about it.
The biggest part of being of value to other people is understanding the value that you carry within your vulnerability and what you carry within your story. The moment you realize that, you're not the only one. You're not the only one going through certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And that your journey is the story that they need to hear. Everyone's story has a certain level of value, and it will connect with someone and really change their life. Imagine you telling your story and changing the paradigm of somebody's life through your story.
Yeah.
That is a miracle. That is a miracle that you caused.
Ricky says vulnerability goes a long way. It really does. And, one thing I want to also share, we're talking about inspiring others, and that's incredible. And having the ability to help have somebody who decides they're not going to, take their life because they read and heard about your story. That is amazing. And I'm not minimizing that. But, this is the Master Connector Show, and we're all about connecting and, with each other and creating relationships. And one of the things that I feel that also being vulnerable does is it break barriers down. And people then start to open up themselves, perhaps things that they might not have shared about. I've been on connect calls with people where I've shared some of that vulnerable stuff, and they start telling me their story, and many of them, I've seen them well up. I've seen them actually cry and break down, and they're like, I've never done this with a total stranger before, and that's because if you're a little vulnerable, people will also open up as well. I just want to go before we get to, and we have a couple of questions, and we're at the bottom of the hour, but just want to acknowledge seeing Kim. Kim, it's great to have you on the show. Another fellow networker here. Appreciate you and the support. Tara, thank you. I don't know which the background you're speaking about, but tell us what you meant by that. So I appreciate that. Vulnerability is the door to compassion, joy, community, and fulfillment.
Love it. Yes.
And Cameron is, I guess, acknowledging about his 10 events coming up.
Busy guy.
Yolanda's acknowledging Cameron, obviously. So we have a lot of good participation going on here. I just want to give everyone a shout out. Here's something from Yolanda. When we are able to express our emotions openly and honestly, we are less likely to experience stress, anxiety, and depression. That's awesome.
That's a great point.
Yeah. And Tara says they feel safe. Absolutely. So let's keep this rolling. I want to just get into a couple, and we're going to need to keep these a little bit shorter. But one of the big things that this show is about is on grit, right? Having the grit to overcome obstacles. So type in #grit. And so we want to hear, apparently you have a tradition of not accepting no as an answer. So explain, if you could. I want to hear a little bit of that. Again, keep it briefer because we want to have one more question I'd love to give you.
Absolutely. Got it from my mom. So she told me, you never say no. There's always other options. And so this is mostly with my autoimmune disorder. I just never said no to what was happening with it. And most recently, I was told since I was 18, I would never have a child. And I just refused to believe that. And so I met my husband 3 weeks after I had a mandatory hysterectomy. And we decided to do IVF. And so in February, we welcomed our little baby boy via IVF and surrogate. That you can clap for. So he's our miracle baby. And if I had accepted the word no, I just never would have gone down that route. So you always have to look for the other options and know that nothing's impossible. It's so true. You have to believe that.
I believe that.
You phased him out.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's awesome. All right, last question here for you, and we're going to wrap things up. So we want to talk about being a go-giver, right? That's one of our pillars of our show, and also a big part of what I speak about as a keynote, right? Is talk about vulnerability, talk about being a go-giver, right? Overcoming obstacles. Those are some of the pillars, right? And building community. So go-giver, what's your perspective? And this is that tricky one, right? Of being a go-giver. And how does that tie into being, the vulnerability aspect, right? Talk a little bit about that and what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, I think when you're being vulnerable, you're giving a part of yourself that allows other people to either heal or also participate in a program like, for instance, suicide prevention or preventing domestic abuse or helping victims that are in domestic abuse situations. So I think, my advice to people would be to look at your most vulnerable situations, and are there programs out there that you can become a part of, that you can volunteer for and really give your time? So you're not only healing yourself, but you're helping others through that as well. And right now I do a lot to promote suicide prevention, but I also help domestic abuse victims through what they're going through and help them leave their situations. And so that's something that helps me, but also helps them at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Again, a lot of good comments here. Yeah, Tara's talking about Bob Berg in terms of the go-giver. Absolutely. Jonathan says, I guess it's a quote. I think it's a duplicate there, but I'm simply saying that life finds a way. Dr. Ian.
Great quote.
Yeah, Malcolm. Yep, that's great. Cameron's like, let's go. Area. Yeah, some congratulations for and as well. Don't accept that something is impossible. I agree with you. With all things,
I want to explain the word impossible. Okay, because sometimes, just as far as perception, impossible is really all about perception.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes once we perceive something as impossible, it is.
Yeah.
And I forgot who said it, but whether you say you can or whether you say you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, impossibility is just about perspective.
Yep.
Nice. That's so true.
Well, here's one thing for you. Ready?
I'm possible.
Yeah. That's the I've heard the word impossible is just I'm possible, right? You just take it, you flip the emphasis a little bit, right? And don't think that anything is impossible because you have the seed of greatness inside of you. Yeah, and I agree. Susan, Marji's a rock star.
Marji is a rock star. Yeah,
sure. All right. Well, we are getting to the top of the bottom of the hour here. We're closing down. It's awesome that you have they have to have you on here for sure. And
thank you.
Marji, I know that you have an offer that you're providing the community here, which you want to tell everyone a little bit about that, please, and we'll close things out here.
Absolutely. So I do own Sherman Social, a social media and digital marketing agency, and I'm offering a free website analysis and audit. So if you get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me via LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest way for you. I'm happy to do that audit for you, and we can talk through it, and I can give you some tips.
That's awesome. Yep. And so best way is for them to just instant message you on LinkedIn and ask for that. Okay. Fantastic. And what's the best way? Give our community the best way to get in touch with you and how you'd like them to reach out to you.
Sure. LinkedIn messages are great. Otherwise, you can email me. It's marji@shermansocial.com.
Beautiful. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, we are about to wrap up here. This has been incredible. So I want to remind everybody next week, same bat time, same bat channel. I'll have my guest, maybe soon to be full-time co-host Rob G. But Phil, you did a fantastic job today. The topic next week is winning against the current with a lady, Laura DiBenedetto. This lady's a firecracker. So, Marji is amazing. You're warm. You're sweet. Laura is like, I mean, she's amazing. She's like, okay, so she's in your face. It's gonna be a cool show. So let me put in the comments see if I can figure out how to do that. Put in the information on how to get in there and watch the show. Register for the event. So I would recommend you do that. But if you're interested, obviously I have a book, The Tao of a Master Connector. So I'll post that in the comments as well.
And it's great. I'm reading it now.
Amazing.
You are? Okay,
yes.
Cool.
So
I appreciate that.
Guys.
Appreciate that. There's a little shameless plug. Order your copy today of The Tao of the Master Connector. But this is great. And I just want to tell you this. Listen, you are amazing. And whether you're going through some stuff right now or you've been through some stuff, just understand that you are an inspiration to us all. We appreciate you. We love you. We love having everyone here. Thanks for the support for the show. It's been a great show. Every show is amazing, but I think this one was even just a little bit better because we had Marji and Dr. Phil on here with us. But just appreciate you. Make sure you go and be the light, right? We live in a really dark world with a lot of stuff, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief, a lot of depression. And you know what? I'm not sure if I have the exact quote, but it's, if you're looking for the light, you be the light, right? and just
on purpose.
On purpose. Yeah. Just uplift somebody, right? Just tell them they're great. And I just want you to know, community, you are amazing. We appreciate you. Make sure you share this out with your network. Also, if you're watching this on the replay, just type in #replay so we know you're on the replay with us. But appreciate everyone. I am going to close this out with a quick video and just have an incredible rest of the week. And we'll see everyone next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Marji, you're amazing. Thank you again. Community, you're amazing. Dr. Phil, thank you for an incredible job here. Have a blessed week.